Alright, so I've decided to sort of give you a rundown of how I got started doing photography, because I think that's the question I get asked the most is, really how did you get started? And there isn't really a short answer because it's just so many small events leading up to the next small event leading up to the next small, it's just so many things in a row that yeah, I really just can't say, the thing that started me out was, I did this, or I did this. Now there's really just like a bunch of them all together. So I'm gonna just tell you from when I started to the first time I got published, because I feel like that's the first little section of my career, my photography career. And then, yeah, hopefully it answers a lot of your questions and fills you a little bit in on my life. So I started shooting in 2005 when I was in high school. I graduated in 2007, so in 2005 I was a sophomore. Yeah, I was a sophomore in high school, 5, 6. Let's see here. Basically, I wasn't the best student in school, as I'm sure most of you go through that. But I definitely got like straight Fs, or I did not do well in school. I failed gym. I have my report card. I'll show it to you. But I definitely failed gym class, and I had a GPA. It was under 2. It was like 1 point, whatever it was. School wasn't my thing. Just had like sort of a troubled teenage life. Loved music. Really started getting into music when I was a sophomore in high school. Started going to a lot of concerts and things like that. But I wasn't bringing a camera with me. I just had a love for music, and I think it was my girlfriend at the time who really got me into like Taking Back Sunday, Brand New, Thrice, things like that. Scene bands or bands that play Warped Tour, things like that. So I got a camera. First time I got a camera in my hands was when I was in yearbook class or graphic design class at school. And I had an assignment to go do some self-portraits. So I did that, and they were really emo. It was like me in my basement, and I just set my camera up on a timer and took a picture of myself. And it looked sort of cool. It was like orange and purple, and I liked it, and put it in the art contest and stuff. But my school counselor I was working with at the time saw it and was like, "Hey, that's a really cool photo. You should try photography out." The school counselor was awesome. He was sort of the guy I worked with, so I could get away from my family troubles and things like that, so I could just figure out stuff to do. So photography was a good thing, he thought, for me to do. So he introduced me to a site called dpchallenge.com, and what it is basically take photos of stuff and you submit it to the site, and then you get graded, and whoever wins an internet ribbon, and you get your picture on the front page. So I started doing that, and I was terrible. Like I definitely don't think, people say, "Oh, you're so lucky, you're so good at photography," and all these things. And dude, I was not good when I started at all. Like if you look at the photo, you can still look at them, dpchallenge.com, search my name. Probably some of the worst photos you've ever seen. So yeah, I did the DP Challenge stuff for a bit, and it really got me into photography. Like I was seeing photos everywhere. I was walking down the street, I was like, "Oh, these telephone wires would look sick," or "Oh, this building, all these birds," everything was a photo to me. And I loved it. It was the first time I really had like my own thing to do other than just being depressed or whatever I did in high school. And that was awesome. So I didn't have a camera yet, but some nice guy at DB Challenge sent me a digital camera, and I remember my school counselor was nice enough to bring it over to my house. He got it for me. They didn't send it to me. He got it for me. And it was like 1.2 megapixel, really shit camera, but it was digital. Back then, it was only like 6 years ago, but back then, kitty, back then, sorry, my cat's right here. That was, it was better than nothing. So he brought it to my house, and I played around with it. And I remember he came to my house while my parents were gone, or my dad was gone, and me and my friend were throwing a party at the house, and we had caution tape around the couch right in there so that nobody would go there, and like cleared out the dining room and all this stuff, so it was party safe. Anyway, he came in the house, and I remember him giving me a camera and being so excited, but also being so like, shit, I'm in trouble. My school counselor knows I'm throwing a huge party. He was pretty cool. I think he knew and just sort of kept it to himself so that I could do my thing. But I went into my room and just sat down and looked at the camera, and man, I was a little I don't realize how fortunate I was to get that, but I don't think I shot with that camera once, honestly. I mean, it'd be cool to say I used this 1.2 megapixel camera, it's awesome. Nah, it was really hard to use. So what I did was I asked my mom if I could use my college money. We had a couple $1,000 saved up for college, maybe like $3,000 or something, and to go buy. Mark, stop! My cat's trying to sell my computer. Stop it! Stop! And so I used it to go buy a Canon S2IS. At that time, I think it was like $400, and I was 16 or 15 at the time, and that is the most money I had ever spent on anything. I think the closest amount of money I'd spent was maybe my rollerblades, and those were like $150. So yeah, I was like, oh shit, I just spent a ton of money on this camera. So at that point, I was probably going to like a few concerts a month, and I was running my parents' wallets dry, because every time you go to a concert, you have to beg your parents for money. And I decided to start bringing my camera to shows, and I just started taking pictures and posting them on, I had a Smug Mug at the time, so I posted them on there, and just sort of put a little watermark on them, and put them on my MySpace so everybody could see them. And eventually it caught eye of a local promoter, or the guy that books the shows in my area, and he was like, hey, if you bring your camera to these shows and take pictures for me, I'll let you in for free. And I was like, oh shit, that's fucking awesome. I don't have to pay for shows. This is sort of like, and I get to take pictures of bands, and I get to be up close to bands. Oh, I'm definitely doing this. So it made me feel pretty important, and I started doing that for him. And then my other friend was booking shows too, more like hardcore shows, up in Milwaukee and in Madison, so I eventually started shooting those for him, and just carpooling places and just taking pictures like every week or so, just live photos. And you can still look at those too. It's at it's my print site now, but they're still in my Smug Mug, and there's just hundreds of galleries of old hardcore bands and just a lot of bands I shot when I was starting off. So I kept doing that for a while, and I eventually purchased what was it? I got a Canon Rebel XT and a flash for it, like a speed light, and just had the kit lens for a sec. Eventually bought the 17-40 L, and that was my jam, dude. I just went everywhere with those things. Spent all my money from my day jobs on everything, and I went fucking crazy, dude. I was like, oh, I got a DSLR, I can take insane pics now. I kept shooting the shows, kept doing all that stuff. I just loved it. It was amazing. At that time I wasn't like getting photo passes to shows. I was just going up in the front and like holding my camera up, or just standing in the crowd and shooting, or standing on the side of the stage. And a lot of the shows I went to didn't even have pits. They weren't big enough. There were a couple hundred kids tops, and yeah, it was fun, dude. I'm surprised my camera never broke. The next step was definitely getting a job at Punk Rock Vids, just an online publication, but it allowed me to start shooting some bigger shows, whether it be, the All-American Rejects in Milwaukee, or just shows with actual pits. So I started doing that and started getting more legit photos that looked nicer and weren't so punk rocky. And yeah, I was doing that, and while I was doing that, I started having bands staying at my house. So basically they would play at the local venue, and man, I can't, now that I tour, I know what it's like to be on the road, and I can't imagine being on the road and having somebody like me, 16-year-old, approach the band and ask them to stay in my place, but I did that, and a few bands did it. So the ones I can remember were like, Envy on the Coast and Four Letter Lie are the big ones, and they stayed at my house each. Four Letter Lie stayed a few times, and Envy on the Coast stayed twice. And basically what happened was, every time they come through, I'd just email them, and I'd be like, hey, you guys need a place to crash? They'd be like, sure, yeah, we'd love a place to crash after the show. And then the next day, I would start trying to do photo shoots with these bands, and I had no idea how to do photo shoots. I think I did a few like local bands before I did them with them, just as like favors, but then I started working with touring bands. And I think my first photo shoot I did, all of them are free. Oh, for sure, free. But my first paid one was like $50. It was in Milwaukee, which is like an hour from Madison, Wisconsin. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. That's where I grew up. So I started doing everything from there. And Yeah, small city, but I loved it. Great place. Let's see how these bands would keep staying at my house, and that's when I started to really form connections with each band and started working with them on a more personal level and hanging out with them and maturing a little bit and learning how to, hang out with the band. At first I was definitely like, oh shit, a band is letting me hang out with them. This is so sick. I need to get everything signed by them. So I did that. Hope didn't deter them. Luckily these bands were nice people, so they did good for me. Taking the press photos, I needed to learn how to Photoshop a little bit better. I had my actions down for my live photos and I knew how to do that stuff, but I wanted to really touch images up, dodge, burn, all that kind of thing. So I think I purchased a laptop, and I have no idea how I bought that at the time. I got a Mac. Oh, I think I spent all my money. The jobs I had were Burgers Bagels, Panera Bread. I worked at a Jewish day camp over the summer. And where else did I work? Oh, Sundance Cinemas. I worked at Robert Redford's first movie theater across the street from my house. And I did all that. And I just spent all my money on camera gear. And after I started shooting those press photos and started charging for them, I figured out I could get $200, $400 for these photo shoots. I started doing that. It wasn't a lot of money, but dude, $200 for 4 hours of work, it definitely beats 25 hours of work or a week's worth of work at Panera Bread. Don't get me wrong, I love Panera. I used to love Panera, but it's not a good place to work. But yeah, I definitely spent all my money on camera gear. Started doing those photo shoots, and yeah. The first time I got published was with Envy on the Coast. I guess the key thing I always tell people is how do I get started is to keep shooting. Keep shooting, keep networking simultaneously, because that's what it takes. It takes constant learning and growing as a photographer to really get your shit together. It's okay if you suck. That's fine. Everybody sucks at something at some point. You get better. But the important thing is to do it over and over and grow. I don't care if you're the best, of anything in the world. If you're not growing, then chances are you're not stoked with yourself, and other people probably aren't stoked. But some people pick up a camera and they're good with it, just like some people pick up a guitar and they can play better than others. But you just gotta do it over and over and keep going and have fun. If you're not having fun doing it, then maybe it's not the right thing for you. I always relate, I really get my drive from the fact that I love what I do, and if I don't love it, then it's sort of my weakness. I can't do it. For example, when I started, I watched so many Photoshop tutorials in school. I spent all the time, just study hall, English class, study hall, library, everywhere. I got in trouble for stealing the internet at school, and just watched Photoshop tutorials all day so I could learn how to get better. And I sort of taught myself stuff, and then read forums on how to shoot, and I love that. But now I'm it's so hard for me to watch tutorials because I don't enjoy it anymore. So now I find I have to learn by talking to people or working with other people, and I wish I could just watch videos, but I don't enjoy it. And if I don't enjoy something, maybe I'm just stubborn, but I just don't do it. So there's some things I have to do, like my taxes and my dishes, but for the most part, as far as your career goes, it's really such an extension of yourself that you have to love it, because it's what you put all your time into. Next to sleeping, you probably spend the most time doing your career. So if it's not something you love, then you're fucking up. You're fucking up for sure. You gotta love it. It's your life. It's so cliche, but dude, it's so true. And it's just, yeah. So yeah, back to the photo shoots. I did the photo shoots and I loved them. I started loving photo shoots. At the time, I wasn't really attached to my photos. I was like, photos, money, photos, do your thing. It's not my passion. I just love doing it, so I do it. And I did it. There's no emotional attachment to it. As far as now, I'm oh, fucking, really get into photos. But then, I just wanted to shoot, be with bands, shoot bands. And as 4th of July and Envy on the Coast came through multiple times, I started skipping school to do photo shoots with them. I started skipping school to go to Milwaukee to do bigger live shoots. And there was a lot of bumps along the way, like example would be getting kicked out of the rave for no apparent reason. Like when I was 16, they just yelled at me, spit in my face, just told me to fuck off. I don't know why, still don't know why, I've shot at the venue since, but they were just super mean to me. Cried that one all the way home. Driving farther than 30 minutes from my house, that took a while to learn how to do. Lots of things that I just learned how to do along the way, just by doing it over and over and over. And that's important, just to do stuff and keep doing it, and that's really what gets you farther. And if you're young and starting out, you have an advantage of not having to pay rent, not having to do daily things to make your life go. You have so much free time after school just to do stuff. But yeah, I guess I should get to my first published photo. Basically, magazines work one of two ways. You can either shoot for the magazine, and then they buy your photo and put it in their magazine and it's exclusive, so only they have it. Or you can shoot for the band, and then the band buys your photo and they dish it out to everywhere that needs photos of them that aren't exclusive. So maybe like an ad or an interview or things like that, a small interview. So my first time I got published was in 2006. It was actually earlier than I thought it was. So first time I published was in AP Magazine, and dude, I ran to this Borders bookstore 2 blocks from my house like every day for 3 weeks until I could get this magazine, because magazine release dates are confusing, or it's like out a month and a half before they're actually out or whatever. But November 2006, AP Magazine. I have a little bookmark here. But this is the first time I got published. And keep in mind, this isn't AP hiring me. This is just getting published through Envy on the Coast. We took this photo like downtown Wisconsin, just walking around with natural light, and then I edited it. And it's not the greatest photo, but it works, and it was a press photo at the time. Mark, I'm gonna kill you. Stop. He's eating leather. But yeah, so this is my first published thing, and I had that, and then there was another little shot of it at the end too. Whoa! And I know it wasn't much, but I'm destroying this magazine right now. I know it wasn't much, but at the time, that was my first time I got published, so it was a huge deal for me. And I think this thing stayed in my backpack for like 2 weeks, maybe longer, a month. And I just went around and was like, hey, Miss Everell, my teacher, I was like, hey, look at this. I'm in a magazine. And they were like, wow, Adam, that's pretty cool. And I was like, yeah, it is really cool. I can rule the world. Mark, go away. Get off. He's like destroying all my portfolio. And in addition to that, they also use it as like a poster to post around. So whenever they toured, they would put these up at the venues and things like that. And yeah. Stop! Mark! Get down! So whenever they toured, they would use these at the venue to post them around. And just, yeah, it was awesome. It was great of them to do that for me. Well, I guess I did it for them. I gave it to them for free, but it was great of them to use my photo. That was my first time getting published, and I didn't actually start working for a magazine until like a year or two later. But, that was really where I got my first, oh, I can do this. I don't know what's next, but if I keep shooting, hopefully more cool things will happen to me, because this is awesome. This is fucking sick. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up for how I got started. My best advice to you is just to keep shooting and just keep doing your thing. It doesn't matter your camera, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Don't say, until I get better gear, I'll do this, or don't say until I have more time, I'll do this. It's important to just live in the now, do what you can right now, and just keep that mindset. And even I lose track of it sometimes, and I forget, whether it be working out every day. Oh, I can't work out today because I can only do 10 minutes. Well, then just do 10 minutes. That's fine. And just have a good time. Have fun. yeah, love what you do. I love what I do. I absolutely love it. Or I wouldn't do it because I love it. Yeah, I hope that helps some of you guys out, and that you get out there and keep shooting. The cool thing about Mark is he loves this toy that's a piece of metal more than anything in the world. I'll show. Look, it has a piece of metal on the end, and he, watch this. I don't care what he's doing. If he's asleep, he'll wake up for this thing. Oh my god. Metal! Get the metal! Get the metal, Mark. Watch this. Get the metal. Get the metal. This is the sickest though. Mark loves the blue chair. He just ripped it out of my hand. You got your medal!